In Tampa, Florida, on a Friday morning 2 weeks ago, a 39-year-old electrician named Marcus Rivera met me for coffee at a small diner near his house. Marcus is not what most people picture when they hear the word wealthy. He drives a 2014 Ford F-150 with 187,000 miles on it. He's been at the same electrical contracting company for 16 years. He earns about $72,000 a year. He never went to college. His wife is a hairdresser. They have 3 kids in the local public school. Marcus's net worth, across his 401k, his Roth IRA, a brokerage account, and the equity in their modest 1,400 square foot house, is just over $1.1 million. He built it on $72,000 a year. When Marcus was 21 years old, he opened his first paycheck, a small one, right around $640 after taxes. He showed it to his dad, who was sitting at the kitchen table. His dad, also an electrician, looked at the check, then looked at Marcus. His dad said one sentence, just one. Marcus has remembered it for 18 years. His dad said, "Before this check pays a single bill, $50 goes into savings. Before anything. Forever." Marcus did exactly that. From his very first paycheck, he has never missed a single one. The amount has grown over 18 years. The timing has not changed once. The first thing his money does, every pay period, is leave his account before his brain can argue with it. That single sentence, that exact rule, is the one wealth signal that separates the people who quietly build real money from everyone else. Roughly 1% of Americans actually do this consistently. The other 99% do something that sounds similar but isn't. I'm Trish, and I sit across from the people who actually built it. So the difference between Marcus's rule and what 99% of Americans do, plus the exact way to start running Marcus's version yourself this week, you're going to know by the end of this video. Here's the data that makes this video uncomfortable. The average American personal saving rate, according to the federal government's own measurement, sits at about 5%. That means the average household spends 95% of every dollar they bring home after taxes. 5% after mortgage, after groceries, after gas, after everything. The average American is saving 5 cents of every after-tax dollar. At a 5% saving rate on a median American household income, the math works out to retirement at 73 with under $400,000 saved. Not enough to retire safely in any major American city, not even close. Most personal finance articles will tell you to save 10 to 20%. Reasonable, math supported. Almost nobody does it. The reason is not income. The reason is not discipline. The reason is not knowledge. The reason is architecture. The 95% of Americans who save 5% or less are using the wrong system. They wait until the end of the month, look at what's left, and try to save what they can. By month end, there's almost never anything left. Not because they spent recklessly, because money expands to fill the available account balance. It always has. It always will. The 1% of Americans who save 15 to 25% of their income reliably are not better people. They're not more disciplined. They're not earning more. They've just structured the sequence of where their money goes differently. That's the wealth signal, not the percentage, the sequence. Marcus's dad told him the sequence in one sentence at age 21. Marcus has been running that sequence for 18 years. The result is $1.1 million on a $72,000 salary. Today I'm walking you through Marcus's exact system. Why it works, why what 99% of people do instead of it doesn't work, and how to set up Marcus's version of it for yourself this week. In about 20 minutes of one-time work, one thing before we go in. The behavior I'm about to describe is sometimes called pay yourself first. That phrase has been around for decades. The famous personal finance book, The Automatic Millionaire, was built around it. Most people have heard of the concept. Almost nobody actually does it. The version most people think they're doing. I save what I can each month is not pay yourself first. That's pay yourself last. It's the default behavior of 95% of American households. Save what's left over. Almost nothing is ever left over. Marcus's dad's version, and Marcus's continuous practice for 18 years, is the actual mechanic. The savings transfer happens before any bill is paid. Not the same week, not the same day, the same transaction as the deposit. The money never sees the checking account in spendable form. That single sequence change from save the leftover to save before anything else is the difference between a 5% saving rate and a 20% saving rate. Same income, same person, different sequence. The system is so simple it sounds underwhelming until you see what 18 years of running it actually produces. Marcus's $1.1 million on $72,000 is not a fluke. It's the math of the sequence working consistently across nearly 2 decades. Here's how Marcus did it. Ages 21 to 39. Let me reconstruct Marcus's actual 18-year arc, not theoretically, with the specific dollar amounts and the specific moments where the system either could have broken down or didn't. Age 21. The kitchen table. Marcus's first paycheck, $640 net. His dad's rule, $50 goes into savings before anything. That's about 8% of the take-home. Marcus walked to the bank that afternoon, opened a basic savings account, set up an automatic transfer of $50 from his checking to his savings every Friday. The day he was paid, same day, automatic. He didn't have to remember. He didn't have to decide. The bank moved it. By the end of his first year of working, age 22, Marcus had $2,600 in savings from a job paying him roughly $32,000 a year with a 21-year-old's expenses. That $2,600 was the entire foundation, not the amount. The habit. The proof to his own brain that he could do this without his lifestyle suffering. Age 25. The first promotion. Marcus got his first significant raise at 25. His take-home went from about $42,000 to $51,000, an extra $9,000 of annual income. This is the inflection point where 99% of Americans break the system. They get the raise. Their lifestyle expands to match. The new money disappears into nicer apartments, slightly better cars, restaurants, vacations. Saving rate stays at whatever it was before. Marcus did the opposite. He raised his automatic Friday transfer from $50 to $150. Every additional dollar of his raise, he split half to lifestyle, half to savings. His new saving rate jumped from 8% to 15%. His daily life felt almost identical. The new car, the new apartment, they happened. Just slower than they would have for someone capturing 100% of the race as lifestyle. By 25, Marcus had about $14,000 saved. Age 29, the marriage and house. Marcus and his wife got married at 28. They bought their house at 29. $215,000, a small 1,400 square foot place in a working-class Tampa neighborhood. Most of his peers thought it was too small. Marcus and his wife thought it was fine. This is the moment where most American households dramatically break their savings rate. The mortgage payment becomes large. The new house demands furniture, appliances, repairs, lawn care. The savings transfer often stops entirely for a few years to get on top of things. Marcus and his wife sat down at the kitchen table the week before they closed on the house. They calculated their new monthly cash flow with the mortgage. They identified exactly what they could cut to maintain the savings transfer. Then they raised the transfer to $400 every 2 weeks, about $10,400 a year, on a household income that was now around $86,000 combined. Saving rate about 12%, lower than before in percentage terms because the mortgage was new, but still automatic, still before any bill, still the first thing the money did. By 29, Marcus and his wife had about $58,000 saved, including the down payment they'd just put on the house. Age 33, the kids, 3 kids by 33. Childcare costs, diapers, activities. The whole pressure layer that crushes most middle-class American savings rates. Marcus and his wife adjusted. The savings transfer dropped temporarily, from $400 every 2 weeks to $250, around 8% of their income. They knew it was a temporary drop tied to the daycare years. They made a specific plan to push the rate back up as each kid hit kindergarten. The system did not break. It bent. The automatic transfer kept happening, just at a smaller amount. The habit was preserved. That mattered more than the dollar amount in any single year. By 33, Marcus and his wife had about $135,000 across all accounts. Age 39, today. 3 kids in school, no more daycare. Marcus's income up to $72,000. His wife's hairdressing income up to about $48,000. Combined household income, $120,000. The savings transfer is now $1,400 every 2 weeks, about 30% of their take-home. The 401k contribution captures the full employer match. The Roth IRAs get maxed every year. The HSA gets maxed every year. The remainder goes to a brokerage account in low-cost index funds. Total net worth, $1.1 million. House paid down to about $80,000 owed on the original $215,000 purchase. Across 18 years, Marcus and his wife have never had a month where the savings transfer didn't happen. Not after the wedding, not after each baby, not when they replaced the roof, not when his dad died and he flew to Ohio for the funeral, not when the truck transmission went out. The transfer kept happening, even at lower amounts during stress periods, every single month. That continuity, across 200-plus months in a row, is what builds wealth, not the size of any individual transfer, the continuous, automatic, first-in-line position of the transfer. Why it works, the 2 mechanics. Marcus's system works for 2 specific reasons. They compound on each other. Let me break each down. Mechanic 1. When the savings transfer is automatic and happens before any bill, it bypasses every cognitive process that normally talks you out of saving. The brain that decides, do I really need to save this month or could I use this for the new TV, never gets the chance. The money is already gone. The TV decision happens with the leftover money, which is now your real spending budget. You think about the TV in terms of, do I want this enough to skip dinner out twice this month? Not, should I save less to afford it? This is the entire psychological move. The savings is not in the conversation. It happened before the conversation. What you spend on lifestyle is what's left after savings has already happened. Walter, the retired accountant from earlier in this series, describes this as paying yourself before you can argue with yourself. He's been doing it since 1985. His version is identical to Marcus's, just at higher dollar amounts. Mechanic 2, small, consistent transfers compound dramatically. The math of compound growth heavily rewards continuity. A consistent $400 monthly transfer for 30 years at 8% average growth becomes about $600,000. A larger but inconsistent $800 monthly transfer that actually happens 15 of every 24 months due to tough months and will catch up thinking ends up at about $300,000 over the same 30 years. Half the result, despite being twice the contribution amount in good months. Marcus's $50 a week at age 21, raised gradually as his income grew, has compounded into roughly $700,000 of his current $1.1 million. The other $400,000 is mostly home equity from disciplined mortgage payments. If Marcus had saved 25% of his income only in the years he felt like he could afford to, and skipped the 6 different tough stretches between 21 and 39, his current wealth would be closer to $400,000, less than half, despite contributing more in absolute dollars during the good years. The continuous transfer math beats the inconsistent larger transfer math almost every time, by a lot. What Marcus does not do. This part matters more than people think. Marcus does not do a lot of things personal finance influencers tell you to do. He does not have an elaborate budget. He does not track every dollar. He does not categorize his spending into 47 buckets. He does not use cash envelopes. He does not do no-spend months or aggressive cutting. What he does, the savings comes off the top, automatically, every 2 weeks. Whatever's left in checking after the transfer is his spending money. He spends it on whatever. Restaurants, hobbies, car repairs, vacations, the kids' activities, whatever. Because the savings already happened, the spending doesn't have to be anxious. There is no guilt. There is no tracking. There is no, should I really buy this? If the money is in checking after the transfer cleared, it's available to spend. Period. This is the part most people get wrong about wealth building. They imagine the wealthy person as obsessively tracking every dollar. The actual quietly wealthy person has the opposite relationship with daily spending, calm, untracked, free. The discipline isn't in the daily decisions. The discipline is in one transfer, set up once, that runs forever in the background. That's the invisible 1% move. 3 objections come up here. Let me handle them. Objection 1. I genuinely cannot afford to save anything right now. Possible. Real. For some households, this is true. But for most households who believe this is true, it isn't. Lisa from yesterday's video, the ER nurse with $32,000 saved at 47, also believed she couldn't afford to save more. When she actually wrote down her spending, she found $1,200 a month she'd been spending on things she didn't care about. Try this. For 1 week, write down every dollar you spend. At the end of the week, look at the total. Compare it to what you thought you spent. The gap is almost always larger than people expect. Even if you start at $25 a week, $100 a month, Marcus's exact starting amount adjusted for inflation, the system works. The amount is less important than the sequence and the automation. A $25 a week transfer that happens 200 weeks in a row will outperform a $100 a week transfer that happens 50 weeks in a row. The math of consistency beats the math of intensity. Start small, start anywhere, start today. The amount can grow. Objection 2. I have credit card debt. Shouldn't I pay that off before saving? Mostly false framing. The right answer is both simultaneously, not either or. The reason, the savings habit takes years to build. If you wait until your debt is paid to start the habit, you'll spend 2 to 5 years not building the habit. Then, when the debt is gone, you'll start trying to build a habit you've never built. Most people fail at this. They redirect the money that was going to debt payments into lifestyle inflation, not savings. Better, start with a small automatic transfer, $25 to $50 a week, and aggressive debt paydown. The small transfer builds the habit. The debt paydown handles the high-interest situation. When the debt is gone, you increase the transfer rate. The habit is already in place. This is what Marcus's dad would have told him if Marcus had had credit card debt at 21. The transfer comes first, always. Even if it's small, the amount can grow as the debt shrinks. Objection 3. What if an emergency comes up and I need that money? Real risk. Real fix. The first 3 to 6 months of Marcus's saving habit went into a basic savings account at his bank. Not invested, not locked up, easily accessible if he needed it. This was his emergency cushion. Once he had about 3 months of expenses in the savings account, new savings transfers started getting redirected to retirement accounts and investments. The emergency fund stayed liquid. The growth fund went into compound returns. This is the right architecture. Build the cushion first, then start the growth piece. The transfer amount stays the same throughout. The destination changes. If an emergency hits before the cushion is built, yes, you might have to use the savings. That's why the cushion exists. The next month, the transfer resumes. The emergency was handled by the savings, exactly as designed. The savings habit doesn't get derailed by emergencies. The savings habit is what makes emergencies survivable. Action steps. 3 steps this week. The whole setup takes about 20 minutes once. Step 1, tonight. The number. Look at your last paycheck, the take-home amount. Pick a percentage, anywhere from 5 to 15%, that you can transfer automatically every pay period without your essential bills going unpaid. If you're not sure, start at 5%. You can raise it later. Marcus started at 8% at age 21 and worked up to 30% over 18 years. Calculate the dollar amount. That's your target transfer. 5 minutes tonight. Step 2, this week. The transfer. Log into your bank's online portal or mobile app. Find the recurring transfers section. Set up an automatic transfer from your checking account to your savings account for the amount you calculated. Set the timing to the same day your paycheck hits, or the day after at the latest. Same day is better. Faster the money leaves checking, less your brain interferes. If you don't have a savings account, open one. Most online banks, Ali, Marcus, Capital One 360, SoFi, let you open a high-yield savings account in about 10 minutes online. You don't need a separate institution if your current bank is fine. The point is the separate account, not the highest interest rate. 15 minutes this week. Step 3, this month. The escalator. Set a calendar reminder for 6 months from now. The reminder says one thing: raise the transfer. When the reminder fires, increase the transfer amount by 1 percentage point of your income, from 5% to 6 or 8% to 9. Set another reminder 6 months after that. Raise it again. Every 6 months for the next 5 to 10 years, raise the transfer by 1 percentage point. By the end of 5 years of raises, you'll be at 15% or higher, without ever feeling a single dramatic lifestyle hit. This is the escalator. It does the work over time. You don't have to white-knuckle a giant initial savings rate. You start small, you raise gradually, the compounding does the rest. 3 steps, 1 number, 1 transfer, 1 escalator, set up in 20 minutes, runs for the next 30 years. That's the entire wealth signal. The one Marcus's dad gave him at 21. The one almost no one else understands. If this video helped you, or if you've ever wondered why some people quietly build wealth on modest incomes while others can't seem to save anything on much higher ones, do me one favor. Hit the subscribe button. New video on this channel every single day. Each one is a specific move that puts real money back in your pocket. Same way this one just did. And here's what's coming tomorrow that explains another piece of how Marcus and Walter and Eleanor and Henry actually live their lives. These are not exceptions. This is the pattern. The wealthier they are, the older their cars get. Tomorrow I walk you through exactly why. The math is brutal and explains why a $1,200 a month new car payment is the single biggest wealth destroyer in modern American life. Plus, the specific decision point at age 28 or 33 or 41, where most Americans choose the wrong car and quietly forfeit hundreds of thousands of dollars of lifetime wealth. If you currently have a car payment or are thinking about getting your next car, tomorrow's video is mandatory. I'm Trish. Talk to you then.